Om Amarani Zivinte Suha. Om Amarani Zivinte Suha. Om Amarani Zivinte Suha. Well, hello there today, and I'm finding today incredibly challenging. And it all began with a series of dreams. I wouldn't normally share dreams, but I'm instructed to share quite a lot with you this morning because let's face it, we all get times when we feel like absolute dog shit, don't we? Yep, we all do, unless we are taking some kind of drug to put us into an altered state of consciousness on a continuous basis, and even then. So that's my premise. My premise, we all go through these really dark times. And it started with these dreams. So I will explain what that mantra was, which I sung a bit later. So here we go. I'm with someone in Devon, and I've prepared a document for someone. It's in my bag getting creased up. I decided I need to get the bus towards the city. It's not Devon as I know it. I'm on the bus and I want to stop as soon as possible. And they're pressing the bell and nothing seems to happen. We keep going past all these different places and finally the bus driver stops the bus, and I apologise for repeatedly pressing the bell. I said I couldn't hear the bell, it was so quiet. And I get off the bus and I proceed to walk back in the direction in which I came. Right, okay. I noticed various interesting women. One is walking towards a workplace 10 minutes before she's going to start work. I pass shops, various commercial buildings. At one point I find myself in a furniture shop. As I emerge, I find I'm on some land which is lower down than the rest of the shops, below the road. Looking up, I see a car driving off the road, crossing a low fence and literally smashing its way down the land, down the level to where I am. It can't possibly do this, yet it is. The woman driver looks alarmed at what she's doing. I'm paralysed by surprise watching her do this. Eventually a severely damaged car comes to a halt. The bonnet falls off. Before I can do anything, a horse arrives and starts biting me. It's the woman's horse. This is her home. She ineffectually tries to stop the horse from biting me as I scrabble up the slope trying to get away from it. At one point I grab onto a pipe, and when I do, I flush an outside toilet with a high tank, showering the horse with water. With one big push I manage to free myself from the horse's grip, and I'm up on the high level. Immediately a toy horse grabs my hand between its toy legs and squeezes my hand. I'm waking up as this happens, as a dog rushes towards me, about to attack me as well, and I feel absolutely awful. So I recognise how awful I feel, and I reckon the best thing to do is I'll do my practices. I do 3 of my mantras, and I do Qigong outside, standing with my bare feet on the ground. All these things normally help me enormously. I water some plants that need watering. I feel like I'm going insane. I woke up with severe dehydration. I feel out of control. I feel like I'm going mad. I must not waste a day reading a terrible book, which is what I did yesterday. I need to be active and move myself, and yet I feel paralysed by inertia. I feel lost and alone living here. I feel my life has no purpose. As I wake, I heard a song as I'm exiting the dream, As Time Goes By the Rolling Stones. And it's a song about wasting time and wasting your life. I'm feeling anguish, desperately lonely, pointless, lost, motionless. In short, I'm feeling the symptoms of what shamans will call soul loss. I feel powerless. And that was really the message from the dream, when I took all those individual little dramatic fragments and looked at each one, what I saw, there was one common thread, and that was powerlessness. All the dream sequences point to events of feeling powerless. And a memory arose, which is that I remembered that around about this time in the week, this astrological picture, the configuration of the planets is such that we are likely to feel powerless. And so the fact that I have something to understand it by helps a little bit. So don't take it too seriously. Just think, okay, you're just feeling like dog shit. That's how it is. So I work out what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my remaining mantras, and I'm going to do my thank you prayers, and I'm going to make myself lung medicine drink, rosehip, cat's claw, honey tea, make breakfast. I'm feeling utterly wiped out and frightened I might fall into another toxic book and become immobile in a chair, which is what happened to me yesterday. Yesterday, realising what I was doing, I did set my phone to ring every 20 minutes, and every time it rang I got up, moved my body, even if it was just walking around the garden and back again. I feel desperate. So that's where I'm at. So I do what I just said. I carry on doing my mantras, and I do my prayers, and while I'm doing my thank you prayers, that this deep fog which seems to have descended on me, it slowly starts to thin and dissipate, and little by little I feel like I'm coming back to who I really am. And that was such a great feeling. And I just focused on, okay, just do the practical things, make the drinks, make the breakfast, and do whatever else comes up that needs to be done. And that's what I've been doing. And then I came across a message from my dear friend Ahmed in Bengaluru in India, and it's a mantra. And the mantra is the one I just sang you. And the words are as follows: Om Mama Rani Jivante Soha. And I'll write those words in the description. So this is a Buddhist mantra. Now, I don't tend to go for Buddhism, generally speaking. I'm much more into the Hindu Sanskrit mantras. But when this arrived, I realised something. I looked at the time that it was sent, and I was able to easily extrapolate that at that point, Ahmed he'd finished his work for the day. He was in his deep chilling out, enjoying his alone time. And I had a feeling that he'd received a silent knowledge, and that he'd chosen to send me this information as a silent knowledge drop. So it's called, there's a YouTube film that he sent me, and it's called Amiteus, and it's a mantra by Chogyal Rinpoche. So then there's this description which explains what it's about. So Amiteus is an emanation of the Dhyani Buddha Amitabha in the state of joy, and belongs to the Lotus family. He is associated with the Dewa Chen, a state of mind which equals a pure land where the conditions for attaining enlightenment are ideal, which is exactly the opposite how I felt this morning. It feels so appropriate. It is said that one can be reborn into that state of ideal conditions for enlightenment through personal merit or trust in Amitabha or Amiteus. This confidence can be gained, for example, through the practice of conscious dying. And that threw me into memory, because on the shamanic training with people, there comes a point we do the journey to beyond the death and the dying. It is one of the most profound journeys we ever do in the entire year that we do the training. And it has such profound effect on people. And what is so marvellous about it is it's necessary to sign a document and date it. The document basically states that you promised to come back. No ifs, buts or maybes, you've promised it, so you will. and that makes the whole thing safe. And my own experience of it is still legendary, and I can instantly conjure it up, and it is one of the most comforting things I've ever experienced. Anyone who's worked with plant medicines will have had a taste possibly of this if they've really been able to go deep. That's certainly where you can get this experience, but I got this experience on my training when my teacher was playing the drum, which is what I do when I take people through this journey. And it is so reassuring to realise that what awaits us beyond this physical life is absolutely nothing to have the slightest concern about. It's completely opposite. It's something to be aware that is going to happen, and it will be the most wonderful thing. Now, the only people for whom this is not the case are people who are completely convinced against all reason that they're going to some terrible place. So if a person is completely convinced they're going to hell or something like that, totally convinced, that's where they go, because it's all intention driven. That's the whole point about leaving the physical body. It's all intention driven. But for people who don't have any intentions, they don't have that experience at all. They have something miraculous. And for people who are tuned in to the wonder that awaits us beyond, then there is absolutely nothing preventing that person from completely embracing the joy. And that's the key word. So when the Tibetans do their conscious dying process, when the shamans do their journey to beyond this physical life, the same thing happens. So this mantra embodies long life and health, and meditating on him, you can bring all sorts of physical qualities to full development, prevent untimely death, and realize the immortality of the mind. Some people call it the mind, some people call it the soul, and there are other words which are used, but there's this essence which prevails after the physical body is let go of. So whatever you want to call it, that's what we're talking about with the immortality. And the words are Om Mamarani Ziwinte Soha. So those are the words of this particular mantra, and I feel so blessed and so grateful for my wonderful friendships with both Ahmed and Reshma out there in Bengaluru. They didn't have any idea what I'm going through this morning, but that loving message was sent to me, and I've been able to make really good use of it. And I feel that if I hadn't done this, I would have gone ahead and done myself some shamanic work for soul loss. But actually, having done my practice, having added this new practice to it, having done all my thank yous, and actually that's a really important thing I want to say. What really began to shift me out of the state I was in was the thank yous. And I do all my thank yous for everything in my life, and that includes my neighbourhood, which is street, my locality, which is the Isle of Avalon, and the people and everything that I benefit from being here. And also, whenever I do my prayers, since 1 week after I arrived in India, I always include Ahmed, Reshma's son Rayan, and the team, and the animals, and the 2 apartments, and the apartment block, and the 2 apartment blocks next to each other, and Hebel, and Bengaluru, and Mother India. They are always included in my thank you prayers too, because that's how it feels. It feels I have 2 homes, and I love to honour that fact in my gratitude and my thank yous. So that's my story, how I got out of trapped in the mind this morning. That's effectively what happened. I got lost in the mind, and I managed to pull myself out with my practices. That's what these practices are for. They're for the worst of times, and then that turns everything back into the best of times. All the love to you, and I'd love to hear from you about what it is that you do that helps you when times are really hard. All the love to you.